because they're actually willing and cool enough, like they don't get bored. They make sure that they're all happy and content of their job. So of course there's that section. There's the computer section that they have where they do the research center, of course, which connects to, of course, like I said, right here where they do the research outside of the terrain world. Of course, that's where they connect and do connections also. And there's more multiple sides. Now, there's one side that secretly, sadly, is they happenly, like, they'll have you unless I interactively touch them, which we'll get to that part later. But the sectional is mainly, one is underwater, and I think one, of course, like I said, and the other sectional side, which will be the giveaways, like grassland, okay, which makes it much easier because they can find the lab when they're out and about in the terrain world. But there you'll see, and there's more conceptual things that make it interesting and make the terrain world hidden. Like, it's practically like Lost Island, practically, or you know what I mean? Whenever you see it, like, it's wild. You know what I mean? It's like a huge practical island. Like, it's fucking wild. Like, if they can actually pull this off, it's wild. Like, I feel like it'd be easier in animation than actual 3D, because we can pull it off here, but oh my goodness, it'd be wild. But they have that section, and they have a sleeping area, and they have a restaurant area where they all eat and like all the food and all that stuff. Like, it's fucking awesome. No. In the fucking wild part that spoils it for the end is when we come into the terrain area from the teleporter. You can have the sectional of going through the lab and going through and seeing all the researchers and all that that are there, everywhere, and see everybody. But there is a sectional side that it lets you know, and it's like enter terrain world. It says, like, one side it says enter the terrain world, and it will say enter the lab. Of course, if you go to enter the terrain world, you end up going to the grassland, and you go through the terrain world without having, you know what I mean? That's for emergencies, for like, it was meant like for the convenience of the researchers, but they didn't know about it in the end. But it's for the convenience, like if they don't want to go to the lab immediately and have to go all the way through the big building to go through, you know what I mean? To go through to go to the other side, you can actually go through and actually exit the building. Now, the way that it does it and how it does happen is you actually go through, but you actually end up going through an underground section. Okay? You end up going through an underground section, and you end up getting across, and you actually get through the lab part. No, actually, I don't know. It could be underground or it can be above, but no, I think it should be just a long stretch of, like, you just go through a long tunnel, like the underground tunnels that you go through, and you just get there eventually. That's probably what it would have to be. Alright, so all that and all through that, I'll be back in a second. Okay? But yeah, that ends up happening. You can get through and you actually start through the terrain area, alright? Now, seems wild and sounds wild, but it is what it is. Alright? Now, in the cool concept, we end up taking our back to it. We end up taking our Pokédexes out from the machine. The professor tells us taking our Pokédexes out and all that stuff, and he tells us now your Pokédexes have a cool new feature mode. And this is when this section pops up, and of course it shows it. The pneumatical mode, of course, was what we had. Is like he's like, okay, he's like, we ask and we wonder about it, and of course he explains like it's pneumatical mode, and explains and shows all the Pokemon in order. So of course, as Stefan's Pokédex shows, he has a lot of work to do still. Okay. He's like, he's like, have you even seen the information about Blast? And I say no. And of course he's like, show everybody. And of course I show everybody. Says from the time it's born, a flame burns from the tip of its tail. Its life will end if the flame would ever go out. So it's pretty shocking. It's pretty surprising. It catches all of our attention, and everybody's pumped and still ready to figure out and see how things go. Alright. So, we end up going back and forth, and of course it shows Pokemon habitats. So he tells us he's like, this is important right here. This is sectional. No, he's like, click on grassland. And of course, you click on grassland. And of course, it shows Rattata. He's like, okay. Of course, it's the only Pokemon I see right now. So, of course, it says its fangs continuously go long. Of course, we know that. But he's like, okay. He's like, click on forest. Of course, click on forest and find out about Pidgey. Okay? So we find out and all that, and he's like, you see how it says grassland and forest for both Pidgey and Rattata. He's like, he tells me, and he's like, I'm gonna need you to put and have your Pokemon in the lab for a bit, and also do more research. Now he's like, where did you find out and find these two at? And of course we tell him Route 1. So of course, as it's known, like I said, Route 1 is grassland forest. Now it's kind of a mountain too, but I won't even say. But of course, as you know, Water Edge is Squirtle, and there's Mountain, and that's Charmander. So, as it's known, we found that out. And of course, he tells me immediately, he's like, please, go to Viridian. You know what I mean? He's like, go up to Vermilion and figure out what, He's like, figure out and go to the PC, and if you can, could you please create 2 terrains for me? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, yes. And he's like, could you please create the grassland and the forest for me, terrain? And I tell him, yes, I agree. I can do that. No, I'm about to leave, and he's like, Stefan, one thing. And like everybody's about to leave with me, And he's like, and I'm like, yes, Professor. And he's like, when you make the forest, do not make it just one box, make it 3. And I look at him like, okay, Professor. And then he's like, you guys can go now. See you guys later. So, of course, we fly out. We come out of the terrain road. And he's like, of course, right then, we come out, we pop out, we see the assistants and all that. And they're like, oh, well, I hope you guys, we're like, we hope we see you again, you know. And we're sitting there talking to him for a second. And of course, the professor pops out right after us. And he's like, what was it? Because I had it for a second. This is what I'm talking about. But he's like, I'll need you guys to be in touch. He's like, please stop by. Also, if needed. You know what I mean? Give me a call on the PC. I'm like, awesome. All that. Okay. He's like, yeah, no. He's like, now then the way I have it linked up in the same set. And I'm like, alright, cool. So, end up leaving, of course. And we start going back onto our adventure. And of course, on this part of the adventure, I'm going to go put, like, it's already in my mind. It's already set. I'm going to go put the rest of the 3 into the Pokemon lab. And making the forest and grassland terrain. Okay?